there guys, welcome to Clueless Nights Volume 3.
Hi there, welcome again.
I'm Mike and Jason, and we're back with some more info on what we've been up to and what we think is cool and new.
That's it, and this week we're going to try and make it a little shorter.
I love the fact that last week we were like, when I was doing the editing and I was thinking, oh, you know, we didn't do that 20-minute stint at the beginning, so...
Much shorter.
No, it wasn't. It was in fact 3 minutes longer.
We promised this time because we don't have much space left on the memory card and the camera, so it's got to be shorter.
Although when I go make the tea, I'll just delete some shit.
shit.
You know what has by doing this Clueless Nights, what has occurred to me is how fast time goes.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, before I was thinking, oh, getting a lot of gaming in and doing a lot of painting and stuff, and then when it comes around to doing this video, then I look at it and go, yeah, I didn't actually do that much.
Yeah, you've done not much gaming this month.
No.
So that bit will be nice and short.
Yeah.
Although I have done quite a lot of gaming this month.
I've actually done some gaming with you.
Yeah, we've actually gamed together. All the board games that we said, oh, I really must play that, we've now actually played, which is also useful.
Yeah, that's cool. Alright, so let's get to the news.
Yep.
News.
Excellent, he's going to put a nice splash screen and everything.
I'm going to try. Alright, so I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first, because I've got one big one and you've got loads of little ones.
Yeah, so in episode 1 we were talking about how the new Tetris-style Warhammer games are coming back into fashion by the looks of things.
Yeah, big blocks of wheeling infantry and such.
That's right, yeah. And one of the games, I mean, me and John have been doing Lion Rampant, which is an Osprey war game, and I've been using Fireforge miniatures, and they've just announced they're going to be doing a Kickstarter for their fantasy range, and they're going to be doing, I don't know when exactly the Kickstarter's coming in, but they've been showing pictures, and I'll put a picture up here of what they've previewed already. It's some new fantasy infantry, slightly bulkier.
But they're much more a traditional fantasy. They're not kind of like Game of Thrones is the wrong word. The high fantasy. They're more kind of like proper ancient soldiers.
Well, I mean, Game of Thrones is supposedly based on the War of the Roses, and so it's like a very medieval style combat.
Yeah, that's the term I was looking for. More medieval than fantasy, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah,
they look a bit bulkier, a bit less flashy, I suppose.
And they're really cool. They remind me a lot of the Stark, you know, look. Yeah. And they're going to be doing 2 factions to start with the base game, which is, and I think 5 boxes. And they're going to be customizable plastics, which are cool. They look great already. I'm really excited.
Yeah. I looked at the pictures. They look really nice, actually. So
I'm quite looking forward to that. When the Kickstarter comes up, I'll obviously stick up a link on the Facebook group. But I'm already using the Fireforge miniatures for Lion Rampant. And we're going to be looking at doing Dragon Rampant and those type of things. So these miniatures will come in really handy for those.
Is there a game attached to the miniature Kickstarter?
Yes.
And have they released any details of that? Is it kind of like similar to a different game, or is it kind of like something new completely?
I don't know at all. I do know that... no, I've forgotten now. But they did mention
nothing.
They did mention who was be working on it. And,
okay, but they haven't released any rules and such.
No.
Yet. I find it difficult to back Kickstarters until they give you at least some clue as the rules of the game.
Also,
what it's going to do.
Gameplay videos are very important for Kickstarter.
Yeah, really much.
I mean, people like to know what they're getting beforehand, even if, you know, it's a bit of a risk sometimes.
We spoke, I think maybe on the first video, about the Harry Potter Kickstarter, which is no longer a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's now Order Direct, and a lot of the complaints I've seen online are, you still haven't told us the rules.
Yeah.
Where's the gameplay video? They did a kind of like release video which they tell you the type of things you can expect to do, but they don't actually do a gameplay turn or show you any of the more in-depth mechanics of it, which is a bit disappointing. Before I would back it, I mean, if I was going to back it, I'd want to back the whole thing, which I think it's not. I don't think it's that expensive. It's 300 euros, I think it is.
Ching.
Which is okay, it's a lot of money, but you're getting quite a lot of miniatures, and the miniatures are really nice, and you're getting loads of boards and extras and things, but I wouldn't buy that if I'm not going to play the game, so I want to know what the game's like.
Well, this is the thing with night models. I mean, these are some night models here in front of us, and I'm not always 100% sure on the quality of their figures. I mean, I've been painting quite a lot of their stuff, and some of it are really good, some of it are quite average, and some of it are piss poor. I mean, they're always falling apart and really thin.
It's interesting. You'd think a company would have a quality assurance throughout its range. They'd all be the same, whether that's good or bad, but they'd all be similar.
And their figures aren't cheap, and a lot of that to do is with the licensing range.
Yeah.
I mean, they had obviously the Marvel and DC stuff, and the licensing range is where they have to cover their cost.
And I imagine the same will be for Harry Potter as well.
Yeah. So they did, you know, it's kind of the old school mentality, you know, like back in the day when it was just like Games Workshop, when you just play their games. Whereas now, if you want people to play your games, you need to make sure that they know everything they need to know.
Yeah.
It's not just a case of, look, I've got this cool theme.
Yeah, there's so many games out there, people won't buy a game unless they know they're going to enjoy it. You can go and research games so well nowadays that you need to put the information out there for people.
Yeah, like people like myself, just stick videos up. You just can watch and see exactly what you want to know. Alright, so well, that's Fireforge got some new fantasy figures coming out.
Yeah, and the good thing about those is you can use them in any game, can't you?
Yeah.
So that's always a bonus. So I was going to quickly talk about the new 40k codexes that have come out recently. So we've had the Tau, the Necrons, and the Drukhari, or Dark Eldar if you prefer. All their codexes should be released now by the time you see this video. And they're an interesting mixed bag. Games Workshop brought out all of the kind of like Imperial armies, more or less, at the start of the edition, all the Chaos. And it's very much been Chaos versus Imperials in all the tournaments, that kind of thing, with Eldar kind of like sneaking in. But now 3 of the more prominent alien races have come out. The Tau don't look hugely interesting. Kind of like power level wise, they've had a few nerfs in there, and I just don't find Tau a particularly interesting army. I mean, 40k is a game of 4 phases. You've got movement, you've got psychic phase, you've got shooting phase and close combat phase, and Tau take no part in the psychic phase or the close combat phase. So you're playing half the game, really.
Talking about the Tau, I mean, I'm actually really disappointed they've gone down a different route. I mean, this is my personal opinion. But I remember when I still had my shop, I went up to the workshop, and they were bringing out, they were fiddling around with the Tau Codex at the time, and they were bringing out some new models and stuff. And that's when they brought out the Vespid, and obviously they had the Kroot. And I really liked the idea of this galactic empire that weren't particularly good at fighting or that sort of stuff. So they acquired these other races to do the fighting for them.
Servant races.
Yeah, I love that idea, and I was hoping they were going to flesh out the way they went down with, because I mean the Vespid weren't great as a unit in tournament terms, but for fluff wise, it was great to have this flying unit.
And in all the fluff they talk about, loads of other races they've got. Why can't we see them on the tabletop?
And I would have loved to see like maybe a psychic alien race and a close combat alien race.
Well, there's talk of the Squats, or as they call them, the Demiurge, are mentioned in the Tau books, that the Squats are now kind of like one of the sub-races that are owned by the Tau. Why aren't they in the Codex and that kind of thing? But they're just getting out rules now for stuff that exists. So the Tau are basically giant robots. That's what they've gone for. It's mecha, isn't it?
Exactly, and that's the... I mean, as cool as giant robots are, they're just... Every time they bring out something new, it's just, look, it's a bigger robot. Yeah. It's a bigger robot. It's a bigger robot. And it's like, that's cool, but what happened to all the cool alien races? I mean, the Kroot are like...
the Kroot are really interesting, and the Forge World used to do a whole range of like Kroot army to use, and they still do the models, but the rules aren't particularly usable.
And I would have loved it if they made even the Tau Fire Warriors, make them quite expensive in terms of points wise, but really effective in shooting and that sort of thing, and then maybe give them some sort of leadership capabilities to the other units.
Well, they are a bit better now in the rules, luckily. The Necron Codex is out and about, and that one seems really sorry. The Necrons are in a really sorry state from Index 40k, as it were, but the Codex has made them a lot better, much more interesting. But the one I really want to talk about is the Drukhari Codex. That one will be released.
I didn't realise the Drukhari was their real name now.
When 8 came out, I think they corrected all of the things that they can't quite control the IP of. So they were Dark Eldar, so now they're Drukhari, so they can stick a copyright on it.
But the elves are still Eldar.
Well, the Eldar they're known as Craftworld Eldar. They basically stuck an A in the front. It's called Eldari is their new technical name.
Okay.
So, we won't see what they do with the Orcs. But the Orcs have a K instead of a C, so they might be able to copyright it. But the Drukhari Codex, it seems really interesting. They've changed a load of the rules and they've given them a whole lot of flavour. Everyone who's kind of like been previewing the Codex is saying this has so much more flavour in. You can have loads of different warlords as part of one army. You can mix the 3 different... Dark Eldar generally have what's known as a witch cult, which is kind of like all the female arena warrior type people. They've got the homunculus covens, who are the kind of like the zombie smiths or the flesh crafters. And then you've got the standard cabals, who are the standard warriors. And each of those they've given really different flavours to in the Codex, but they've also included loads of rules to let you mix them all together, not following the standard rules, but make them all work together really well. It just... From reading what I've read, they look really interesting. A really hard-hitting glass cannon army as well.
They've just brought them out in Age of Sigmar as well.
Oh, they have as well, yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of cross-pollination of models there.
Yeah. That's the whole. I think that's their whole idea. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
That's why they've made Age of Sigmar very aesthetically similar to 40k.
Yeah, you just wait till I get my flying turtle in 40k. That'll work.
That turtle's awesome.
It is awesome. I would like one.
I don't know how much that's going to cost, but
Yeah, I'm gonna hope Nick buys one so we can use it in Monster Hunter.
I must admit, I mean, Age of Sigmar's aesthetic still doesn't appeal that much to me. But some of the models,
You're far more of a traditional fantasy and medieval, as we were speaking.
exactly, yeah. But the models they're bringing out, sculpt-wise and like the aesthetic, they're
It's incredible what they manage. I mean, we might as well quickly move on to the INF Deepkin while we're here, because there's loads of models been released for that now, or been previewed for that. You've got the shark riding elves. You've got. I really like the guy who's kind of like riding a wave.
It almost looks like it's part of his cloak.
Yeah,
as
it
well.
just looks incredible. Just what they can do with a classic model now.
I didn't realise at the time when I was looking at two different pictures of him. Like one of them has like a kind of like a manta ray coming around the side, and then another version of it was like a big eel thing coming out. So there's multiple options.
Yeah.
Just to customise the look of what's in the wave.
It's
crazy.
incredible. I mean,
so good.
What they can do with plastic now. I mean, I know they're the biggest player on the market, but they are streets ahead of anybody else in model making, and just the intricacy and how they go together so easily as well now. I built my Mortarion. It's the most complicated model I've ever put together. It just looks bonkers. It was super easy to put together. The instructions are really nice, all colour-coded. Doing a really good job of just the basics of the actual model making now.
Yeah, undoubtedly the leaders. I mean, I go through a lot of models.
Yeah, you sample so many different companies' models.
Yeah, and I mean, people still do great models. I mean, there's some fantastic models out there. Some not so great, but and it all comes down to personal opinion. Like, for example, you know, the Age of Sigmar aesthetics doesn't appeal to me as a fanboy, if you like. But that doesn't nothing to do with the game or but as a model. What do they call it? Like connoisseur.
Aficionado.
Yeah. I think they're fantastic. I mean that giant sea riding turtle thing.
Yeah.
And then you got the little dragon, sort of sea dragon shark riders. They all look fantastic.
There's just loads of great stuff.
Yeah, there's got one sort of mage type thing with octopus on the back.
Oh yeah, he looked really cool.
Oh, so good.
So I just want the bits from that. You could customise such a brilliant of any kind of army, give it a watery theme.
There's I'm going to go off on a tangent here now, but
You shocked me.
Kings of War, which is another game I play. They got a race that you can do. I think it's called the Naiad Army, or it's basically it's like a sea star army. And I've seen some great on the Facebook page. Some people do some fantastic things. They normally go to toy shops and pick up like crabs and things like that, and then they put them onto the bases and colour them up with and there's some particular great ones. And even though this would be very expensive conversions, the bits from these I don't know, would make fantastic base conversions for.
I could see people doing a lot of kind of like Exodite Eldar maybe for 40k. You kind of like use these shark riders instead of jet bikes. You kind of like have your big turtles instead of tanks. I think it'd look really cool.
What's quite interesting is from an old Warhammer Fantasy fan, it seems like they've combined the Dark Elder Corsair faction. And the dragon princes of the High Elves.
Yeah.
Because the sharky sea dragon looking things, they remind me a lot of the dragon princes.
Yeah, very much. All the kind of like the head fans kind of going on and such.
And the fact that they're riding basically sea dragons, it makes me think a lot of that. And also, I noticed the way they painted them. Some of the elves are very pale, and some of them are more coloured, if you like. So,
so it could be interesting. I don't know the background of them. I haven't read them. Something to find out.
Yeah, but no, it looks fantastic. I think it looks great.
Okay, what's next on your list?
Well, Star Wars Legion has hit the shelves.
It has. We've actually had a copy and seen it, haven't we? Nick brought it around for us last week.
Comparing the scales between Imperial Assault and...
Yeah, it was interesting actually. The base size was pretty similar, wasn't it? But you stick a next to it and it is... hold my fingers up. It was like that and that, wasn't it? You could use them, but they would look silly on the table together.
Well, isn't it an odd concept? Because if me and you stand next to each other, I'm about up to...
Oh, I mean, okay, you look a bit silly, but you don't look that silly.
Yeah. Which, in normal society, we're all different shapes.
Yeah.
But when you put them on the miniatures,
it just looks
it
wrong.
Looks weird. It looks so weird. And those, we put two stormtroopers next to each other, and the Imperial Assault stormtrooper is like a foot shorter.
Yeah.
And that's even when because you have to raise the base up a bit as well.
Yeah, because they got thicker bases, haven't they?
Yeah.
Which is a trick that Games Workshop do as well. You stick a bigger base on the model and makes the model look bigger and more imposing.
Well, yeah. I'm just looking at Labarty's in front of me, and he's got a big base compared to...
Yeah, I've whacked one of big base on him.
I mean, look...
Yeah, we'll have a quick on camera, Jason. They'll think, what are we looking at? Yeah, you can see the base size difference makes a huge difference on the model, doesn't it? Just makes him look more imposing.
So, yeah, that was interesting, and it's an interesting decision that they've gone down there. Obviously, they want people to buy the new models.
What I found quite interesting was, because we were comparing literally a Legion model to a Imperial Assault model, I thought the quality was much better on the Legion model. So maybe they're trying to aim, I assume they are, trying to aim more at the wargamer who appreciates a better model. So they've got crisper sculpts, more detail. I mean, they were nice models.
Yeah, the Darth Vader model, I've painted so many Darth Vaders.
Yeah.
And it's very simple technique to paint the Darth Vader model, but this one was more interesting to look at as going, okay, it's still going to just be a black model essentially, but it's just a lot crisper.
There was a lot of detail on them. I thought they were really nice.
And obviously they brought out some. I think they've learned a lot from the Runebound. People call it a fiasco. It's just I don't know what the real issue is, but they didn't bring out a lot of stuff immediately. So you had to wait 2-3 months to get an expansion or whatever. Whereas now with Legion, they've just
they've announced some already, haven't they?
Throwing them out. And the ones I'm bringing up is they've brought out Han Solo and the Commandos unit.
Yeah.
Which can be customized with special weapons and things. So you can kit them out to define a situation. If you want them to take out heavily armored things, you
give them rocket launchers.
Yeah.
That was one interesting thing when Nick brought around his box. Just in the base box, there comes different weapon options for the vehicles, wasn't there? Nick's got his little the Rebel Walker, and you get 3 different gun choices for them, and they're not necessarily designed to be magnetised, but it's quite easy to magnetise that.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a good option.
So that was quite interesting. It makes me wonder what else they got in, because companies, proof things like a year in advance.
Yeah.
So that they can kind of keep on top of it.
What is coming out? And I just want to know what extra races they're going to do for Legion, because I think they need extra races.
Well, one of the interesting things were brought out was for example, they brought out these commandos for the rebels.
Yeah. Nice. In case you didn't know, Jason is a Star Wars aficionado, not.
So, and they brought out these commandos, and they were saying, well, an equivalent unit for the Stormtrooper side. I mean, basically in Star Wars movies, especially for the first 3, there was literally just Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
A Stormtrooper.
I see, you sometimes get a Snowtrooper.
Yeah. But now if they want to bring out a specialist unit, what are they going to do? Just add more Stormtroopers with different weapons?
There's loads more they can do now. So they could go to Rogue One and they can use the black Stormtroopers who guard Director Krennic. And they're kind of like a more elite Stormtrooper, so I suspect they might go down that route. I think they might even be called Death Troopers. Well, Royal Guard they couldn't really bring out unless they brought out the Emperor, but that's just the nerd in me saying it, because they don't do anything other than guard the Emperor.
Fair enough.
Okay, next on my list I was going to talk about Adepticon. So Adepticon came and went in massive convention over in America, and I was just going to focus in on Games Workshop did a kind of like a preview session of what was new and coming out soon. So there was the new Imperial Knight Castellan, which was kind of like an Imperial Knight on steroids. It's got
more guns,
it's bigger, it looks like a lovely model. It looks like a Warlord Titan, kind of like just miniaturized down. Looks brilliant.
Do you know, scale, is it bigger than the Imperial Knight?
So I think it'll be a little bit taller than the Imperial Knight, and it's definitely bulkier than the Imperial Knight. The torso of it, whereas the Imperial Knight kind of like slopes and triangles out at the shoulders, this one's going to be a much wider and bigger kind of like square silhouette instead. But it's hard to tell exactly until you kind of see it on a table with a known model. But it certainly looks like it'll be not a lot taller, but it'll be taller, just a lot bulkier.
Okay.
Other things they announced an X3 Codexes coming out, which were the Imperial Knight Codex, shockingly, the Harlequin Codex, the Death Watch Codex, which would be interesting. I've got a Death Watch army.
What a shocker.
What a shocker. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with those, because at the minute they are pretty unusable just due to the fact they cost so many points, and they're still a 3+ save Space Marine, which you kill with a flashlight from your guardsman.
Yeah.
Other stuff
or many
from
flashlights.
What else do we have? They announced an app coming out called Combat Roster, which is going to be, it's for a 40k army building app, but it's only using power levels at the minute. which is fine for most people because I think nowadays I probably play more power level games than I play point games, just because it's so easy.
Well, I think depending on how many people use it, the more people use it, the more they add to it.
Well, they've said that there will be an app coming out in future that will be aimed at tournament gamers, and it will have points built in, so you can build your armies using points. But it's not going to be the same app as the combat roster; it's going to be a separate app.
Okay.
Because it will need to be a lot more complex than the combat roster app. What else was there? And I was just going to touch on the fact that the March FAQ, Games Workshop made a big show of telling us when they were going to FAQ their games and things, and they said March would be the first 40k FAQ, and everyone's been waiting with bated breath to see what they're going to change, what they're going to update, how they're going to balance things.
No,
and
0.
March has been and gone, it's now April, and we're still waiting for our FAQ. They did come out and apologised and said they were fixing a few things which showed up at Adepticon, which I think is they're going to fix Hive Tyrants, because in the top 8 Adepticon, so top 8 players, combine all their armies together, I think there were 21 Hive Tyrants.
Jesus.
3 armies, 2 had 7, 1 had 5, and another one had some as well.
So Hive Tyrants are good then?
Hive Tyrants are pretty good. They're good in every phase of the game. They're killer in close combat, they've got super movement, they've got great psychic powers, they've got brilliant shooting, and they don't cost many points. So they're going to be fixed. I suspect they're in the Tau Codex. They restricted Tau commanders to 1 per detachment, so you can't just have 15 Tau commanders as your army. That's just not realistic. And I'd be quite happy if they did that for loads of the armies. Make the units that you shouldn't see hundreds of on the table 0-1 per detachment choice. You can take 3 detachments. You can still field 3 of them. It's not like you're not using them.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope they do. And very lastly, Plastic Sisters of Battle. They have announced Plastic Sisters of Battle. They say they will be released next year, so a long release schedule, but they've also said quite interestingly that they're going to keep the public or their customers informed of what's happening with their production schedule. So they're going to hopefully every month release a little bit extra about them. So they'll show you in production pics kind of like what they think the models are going to look like, some of the sample rules for them. So it'd be really interesting to see if they do that, because I don't think they've ever done kind of like this is how we go about producing an army. So it'd be really nice if they actually take this opportunity and show everybody the process they go through. I think a lot of people would be more appreciative of it as well. They'd say, oh, I want this released, why isn't it here? If they can somehow show us all of the work that has to go in to realise an army from the idea to the tabletop, I think that'd be a really nice journey to see.
It's funny. I watched a recent series from Druid City Games where they.
How do you remember all these game companies' names?
I don't know. It's part of my job, I suppose. But they did a game called Sorcerer City, which just finished on Kickstarter at the moment. And the guy who runs the company, he did a little short video series. I think it was about 4 videos of first speaking to the guy who designed the game, concept idea. Then they play tested it, and then the next video was getting the artwork sorted and speaking to the. And it was like just a little diary of how he got from point A to point B when the game went to Kickstarter.
Yeah, really interesting stuff.
And I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really interesting. It was interesting listening to him talk. When he was like this, for example, the artwork.
Yeah.
He sent the art designer like 4 concept ideas that he wanted. He wanted a sorcerer with a city in the background and that sort of thing. And then the guy sent him 4 designs back, and then he had to choose one, and he chose one which wasn't the one that actually ended up on the Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
Because he then had the box, a fake box design, and it came back to him, and he tried it out at a few places, and they didn't like it. So.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. It's interesting. Kickstarters are often show you this. Certain Kickstarters I've backed, some are better than others, but some of them keep you informed of the progress of all of their kind of game design, and I find that really interesting as well.
So I quite liked that idea, and so watching how Games Workshop make the
I think
from
it would be
concept to
be
shell.
really interesting to see how the biggest player does that.
Have you got a Sisters army?
I've got some Sister Battles models. Obviously, I have Celestine and her 2 little Gemini, and it'd be useful if I could have a troop choice to go with that. So
small allied detachment.
Very small, very small. Okay, what's the last one on your list?
Well, talking about all Games Workshop's new releases, they obviously released 2 new factions for Shadespire.
Yep.
And it's interesting how we now this show also reminds me of how easily things come out.
Yeah.
Because I've talked about Shadespire almost every episode, and this one has got a I think this is the last of the first wave of teams. So they got the new Stormcast crossbow unit.
Yeah, they're kind of just ranged combat version, aren't
and
they?
they're the first real ranged units in the game.
Be interesting to see how they alter the game, because it's a very close combat focused game.
And you've played it now.
I have played it now, which we'll get to in a bit.
And also a new Khorne Bloodbound, or Khorne Army.
Do we know how they're different to the original one?
Well, they are obviously much heavily armoured than the first one, and they've got a big dog.
They've got a flesh hound.
Yeah, flesh hound. So that's different as well, because there's no other creatures in the game.
Yeah, and I imagine that'll have much faster movement. And you were saying, which again we'll probably get to later on, that the Khorne faction out at the minute isn't kind of like all about hitting the enemy. They're not the best combatants in the game,
which is ironic.
Yeah, which is ironic. So I imagine this Khorne faction might be a bit more about killing and a little less about running around objective grabbing.
Yeah, so they look good. I mean, I'm not a big Stormcast fan, so they don't really appeal to me that much. But what I quite like the idea, and I think I mentioned this to you when we were playing it, it's like I've got obviously the Shadespire game. I've got the Hammerhall and Silver Tower games.
Yep.
I've got the Gore Chosen game.
Yep.
And there was a free model that came with that in the White Dwarf. And as you collect all these games, you can actually combine them all together. Yeah. If you picked up the starter box with the Stormcast and the Khorne stuff, and just got the Khorne side, you've got a Khorne army for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, very much.
Which you can use as
you've got all the character models. You've probably got 30 odd models just from those board games you picked up, and that you can design a force that could easily. That's one of the good things about Age of Sigmar. You can design a force using whatever you want. Yeah, and that would make probably a quite playable force. And they're all lovely models as well.
Very much so. And then you still have the fallback of all the
the board games.
Yeah, because Gore Chosen is quite an underrated game.
I've heard good things about that.
And obviously the Sigmar, the Shadespire, obviously kicking off everywhere and doing super well.
Yeah. I really liked the speed of their releases. I think they've got it just right. You need to keep releasing stuff to keep interest in the game, but you don't want to oversaturate. You don't want I don't like every month something new coming out for it. I think that would be too much to integrate in. But I think they've been doing a couple of teams every 2 months. They release 2 together, and they've done that for the last kind of 6 months. And I think that's been a really good pace for the game.
Especially considering it's quite a collectible game.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people that I've seen that play Shadespire, they don't just go, well, I'm collecting Khorne, so that's all I'm going to collect.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'll get all the new factions.
And that's because you want the cards. It's similar to all of the Fantasy Flight games like X-Wing and all of their card games they do. Every set they release has something that you'll want for all of your different teams. Yeah. I understand the model. I don't like the model as a consumer. I'd like to just buy one team and use that. But as a collector, I would need all of the others, is the problem.
Especially if you're going to be doing tournaments. And things like
tournaments, you'd definitely. It's going to be every set's going to have one really good card. You would imagine. I don't know this, but I would imagine there'll be at least one kind of like just slightly better than average card in every pack that you want in most of your decks. So you'd need to buy all of them to have them.
The other genius idea that they've come up with, because I don't buy the White Dwarf anymore. I used to have a subscription, but I got quite bored of it.
Yeah.
But I've bought the White Dwarf twice in the last year, and that was because at some points during the year they provided White Dwarf with like loads of promo cards for the games. Like you get some for Hammer, like the Silver Tower game, the Gore Chosen, or and also some of the White Dwarfs have just scenarios for all those games, like Lost Patrol and those type of things, and it draws me in. I'm a sucker for shit like that.
Extra game content, great way of selling a magazine.
Yeah, brilliant. And the magazines are actually much better than they used to be.
They're really good. Yeah. They're really good quality as well. I don't know what happened. Obviously, they went weekly, and then they went monthly, and then they went
that was
back and forth. It was a complete... Then they had that special one, didn't they? The smaller monthly one that was basically just a picture book. But now, my mate Sire still gets it, and he loves it. Really good.
John gets it every month.
John gets it every month.
He even gets those little boxes that you could slot them in, and they have the January to February, like that sort of thing. He's very addicted to the anything Games Workshop.
Yeah. I mean, you think I'm a fanboy.
So he's quite dedicated. But I think it's really clever. Really good way of selling your material.
And it's a proper magazine again now. It's not just advertising. Obviously, they showcase new stuff coming out, but they're showcasing it, not just a splash advert of here, buy this, here, buy this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like showing you different ways of using things.
And they've added some other stuff as well, like they add the digital content, that you can see where they've released a lot of their product line to other, like the Total War game.
Yeah,
they got
exactly.
content
They
for
cover
there.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, and all the role play stuff and Talisman.
Yeah, I mean, as we've said multiple times on these and other videos, Games Workshop in the past couple of years are just got such a better attitude to their customer, their consumer, the person who's driving their profits, and it shows in their profit line.
Yeah, as evident by the Sisters of Battle thing.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. I mean, God, the amount of... I mean, you just need to look at their stock market share. And I think last year, I could be wrong here, but I remember reading a report that they were the best performing stock on the London Stock Exchange in percentage increase in the year.
And
it was just bonkers.
It's a great time for them to be changing their leaf as well, because gaming in itself is becoming... I wouldn't say mainstream, but it's getting there.
It's getting there. I remember when I was young.
That was a long time ago.
A long time ago. People would say, "Oh, what are your hobbies?" You're like, I like playing board games and things.
What?
Nowadays, people will say, "Oh, what are you up to?" I'm like, "Oh, playing board games for the day."
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like "Oh, that's a bit weird, isn't it?" It's like, "Oh, that sounds fun."
Yeah.
Even people who don't really play board games, it's kind of like encroached on their consciousness that there are massive board games that people will spend. That's their hobby. It's not. When you say board games, people now, it doesn't necessarily mean, Monopoly or something like that.
Yeah.
I said a rude word.
Alright, so that's all the news we have for this month.
Sounds good.
Should we move on to some Kickstarter content?
Yeah, I don't have any Kickstarter content this month, so this is all going to be you. I'm just going to sit here and stare at you while you speak.
Alright, well, I've actually got a couple of things I want to mention that's on Kickstarter at the moment. One is, have you heard of the Angry Joe?
I've heard the name, I don't really know what it is though.
He's oh my god, English has just left the building. He does reviews on computer games.
Okay, yeah. I have heard of him. Yeah, my mate Paul likes watching them.
I love his show. He's super excited.
Yeah,
he's super fun, and I feel like we have a similar sort of like he likes board games and tabletop games and things like that, and this type of games, PC games and computer games and stuff that he likes are very similar to mine as well, like Civilization, Total War, those type of things. But he does some fantastic skits.
I've definitely seen a couple.
Yeah, my favourite one is the Batman one. Oh my god, you should watch the Batman one. It's hilarious.
Is this the old Batman game?
No, it's the I think it was the third one in the Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
But he played it on PC and there were some issues with it. Oh my god, it's so funny. Anyway, he's just designed a game based on the Street Fighter license.
Okay. I think I may have this may have crossed my consciousness at some point.
Yeah, and I mean he's a big gamer anyway. Yeah. I've seen him do the AVP board game and all those type of things on his actual review channel on YouTube. But now he's actually designed this game himself. It's based on the Street Fighter license. It's pre-painted large-scale minis that come with the game. I don't know how the game system works as itself. I'm not actually the man
play them, but haven't in many a year.
But I thought it was interesting that it's a Kickstarter exclusive game, so you can only get it on the Kickstarter, and it's pretty interesting. The fact that he's already funded it, day one fund, and he's got some other. I think he was talking about Dragon Ball Z, Mortal Kombat. So he's got other games.
Yeah, if he's got a system in place that they can probably just meld in all the other characters and beat them ups if it's going to be doing that kind of thing.
I mean, when I had my shop, I played this game called UFS, which was the Ultimate Fighting System.
Yeah, I remember.
And I thought it was a pretty decent game, actually. I did really well at one point, and then it kind of tailed off.
Yeah, like a lot of those games.
Exactly, yeah. And this kind of reminded me of that, except this comes with miniatures and that sort of thing. So, therefore, I can bring it up,
That's it, you can talk about it here.
So, that's on there if you wanted to check it out. If Street Fighter's your bag, you can go check out the Kickstarter. The other one I wanted to talk about, and this one, I've actually got some figures here for it that I'm going to be painting up for Salute next week.
These are the rush job.
Yeah, this is Armored Digital. So it's a 15mm tank war game.
It's a cool name.
Yeah, but what's quite interesting about this is that it's not your stereotypical we're in a tank, ride around, shoot each other. It's drones. And the drones can be kitted out in different ways.
Yeah. And
you have this APC vehicle that moves around where you can send the drone to re-kit him out in a different vehicle.
I see. So you can alter your tactics mid-game.
Yeah, and the certain guns work better to certain other tanks. Yeah. So, for example, if you only went and did only one type of gun, let's say laser turrets or something, and the other guy's using those type of shields, then you're not going to...
Mirrors mounted on his tanks.
Exactly, yeah. So that's how it... And it's a very simple system as well, just move, shoot, that sort of thing. It looks really fun, actually. The tanks look great. They're made by Wordforge Games, and they got the game on Kickstarter. It's funded already, and so they're now doing unlock stretch goals.
Yeah, stretch goals and such.
And I think it looks good. I'm busy painting up some of the tanks for them now, and I'll be taking to Salute next week. And
Are you actually going to Sooo?
yeah, I'll be doing some content for that, for pictures.
Excellent.
The other game I wanted to talk about, which is on Kickstarter at the moment, is called Arena the Contest. Now,
I think I've heard of this one as well.
yeah, this is I can't remember the company's name now. I'll put up a picture here of their company, but it's a standard party adventure dungeon game.
Yeah.
So you got the board with the dungeon and scenario, campaign play, that sort of thing. So you pick there's a ton of figures in this game, ton, and you pick your different classes of heroes to go into the dungeon as you would for normal.
Yeah, as in many a game.
Yeah. So there's nothing that fancy about that. I mean, it's got the campaign play, which is cool. Campaign play is always cool. But this one also has an alternate play where you can do team versus team. So we have, say, 4 categories of, say, mage, tank, archer, that sort of thing, or 5, 6 categories, and we each can draft models from these areas.
That's cool.
You can't have 2 mages or 2 tanks or
Yeah.
2. So we each draft whatever particular, and each particular. Say if you have 5 different tanks, they all have different abilities. So it's not like the
That's
same.
cool.
And then we have a combat where we're fighting team versus team.
Ah, that's different. You don't very often get kind of like adventuring team or adventuring party versus adventuring party in more or less any game.
Yeah. So I quite like that. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
that sounds interesting.
And they got a ton of different figures. They got different expansions for it as well. Some massive dragons and hydras.
I think the balancing will be an issue in that. That'll be the key point on how good the game is and how balanced are the teams you make.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you play it a lot, you'll come up with some combos.
Yeah, every game works that way, doesn't it? There's always an optimal strategy. It's how much better the optimal strategy is than the average strategy, I think, is a key to games, and how easy it is to find the optimal strategy.
And what's quite cool as well is I reckon because they come up with some expansions where you can get like the scenery and stuff to go with it as well, but you can draw. I mean, there's a ton of figures, and we're talking about hundreds of figures here.
What kind of scale are they?
28 mil.
So you
Or
a load of
32 mil hero.
A load of people will have a load of terrain that they can use.
And I reckon you can also play like 2v2, 3v3, that sort of thing, depending on how many figures you got. But it looks good. I think
that sounds really interesting, actually.
I'm really on the fence. I got so many figures and stuff to do.
What do you mean? I look around the house.
I've just backed the Batman game as well. So,
you did back it, did you?
So I'm really on the fence. Like I really want to back it.
Yeah.
But like that's 2 Kickstarters really close together.
Yeah.
And I've got so many other things. I mean, you guys can see this little square here.
The thing is, you love Batman, so
I know. And then, of course, at the end of the Batman Kickstarter, which I'll just mention quickly, they announced the reprint. A reprint of this one.
Oh, so you're going to get some more, are you?
Yeah, so you got all the content that they had from the first Kickstarter, plus some extra content.
Oh.
And that's coming in June.
Oh, that's close.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. And the Norse ones.
This is like your favourite game, so getting some more of it.
So, and I've not even started painting that yet.
Unfortunately, your birthday was last month.
Yeah.
Not before last.
So, those are the Kickstarters that I...
Yep, they sound interesting. I really like the idea of what was it called? The Adventurer on Adventurer one?
Arena the Contest.
Arena the Contest. I'm going to go and have a look at that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I like the tank one as well. Armor Digital, I thought that was really cool. I like the theme as well. That we no longer fight war against each other. We use drones.
Which is far more realistic, I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll never be another war, but it'll be between kind of like unmanned drones more than it will be between kind of like 2 fighter planes with people inside them.
And they're also talking about adding like artillery and aircraft and that sort of stuff too as well. So that's all really cool.
Excellent.
There was another Kickstarter I had on here to talk about, but as it turns out, they're cancelling the Kickstarter today to come back in May, I think it is.
Aha.
And I'm going to be doing some figures for them as well.
Ah, excellent.
So I'll keep that for next month's.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. So games played. This is an hour later.
This is an hour later. We got talking about TV.
So, what games did we play this month?
So, how long's your list?
Not very long. I did get a video up, which is quite strange because now all the videos I'm getting up is this Line Rampant campaign.
Yeah.
And these videos. But I did get Scenario 2 done with John on our Line Rampant campaign.
And John was really lucky in that game, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he was really lucky. So you can go check that out. And I also got a game of Lords of Hellas in as well.
Ah, excellent.
I played it with a completely different group. None of them played it before.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm really enjoying this game a lot. And we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
The Greek mythology. And soon there should be the second wave of expansions and stuff coming.
And have you got those already coming?
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. But there was a couple of expansions I didn't took. I basically took the basic pledge with all the gubbins that come free with it. But there was a couple of things that you could pay extra for, and I didn't because I wasn't sure about the game at the time.
It's always hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they cost so much extra.
And now that I've played the game a few times and love it, I'm definitely keen on picking those up when they come to retail. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I got another game of it. I won that one. So
always nice.
First win. And I won by a completely different route that I was going for. So yeah.
And it's good. The game can take you in those different ways to win.
Yeah. So that was cool. I've got another game, but we can talk about that in a minute.
Okay, what did I play? So I had a game of 40k. Jason will put a link up the video somewhere. I had a city fight game. So I was interested. Played against my mate Si. We built quite a nice dense city fight board. And we had both chosen, if you're playing a game of 40k, okay, you go to a tournament, you take whatever army you're taking. But if you're playing a game at home with one of your mates, it's always best to discuss beforehand what kind of armies you bring in, just so you don't kind of like bring a complete mismatch that they don't pair up.
It's not really list tailoring, it's more like thematically
energizing. Make sure you're both on the same page for the type of game you're doing.
Yeah.
So we were playing on quite a small board, so 4 foot by 4 foot, and we wanted it to be a city fight. So we both took a lot of infantry stuff.
And Chaos versus Imperial Guard.
Yeah, Chaos versus Imperials. I had all kinds of stuff in it. But we were all infantry. If we'd have kind of like one of us had bought an Eldar army with loads of jet bikes and cover the entire board in a turn, it would have taken away from kind of like the grinding advance through the buildings and trying to fight over them with your infantry. And it was another really good game. Si and I played a couple of games recently, and both have been really nicely close. A load of toing and froing. In this, I took my new Custodes small allied detachment for the first time, and boy, they're kind of like known as kind of like each one is kind of like an army onto his own, and blimey, they are super tough. They ruled the roost. They were brilliant, really good. They came down, they did exactly what they wanted to do. They felt properly powerful. They felt like Terminators should feel, but don't, because they can do all the stuff and they can do it all really well, but they cost a lot of points.
You still seemed like you had a lot of stuff.
I backed it up with Imperial Guards, so I had hundreds of cheap bodies and then some super good guys and an assassin and such.
I never feel like I had that many stuff when I play Imperial Guard.
Well, you bring too many tanks.
Too many Ogrins.
Yeah, too many Ogrins, that's where you spend your points. So I had that game, Jason put the video up, and then we had a few games that you taught myself and Nick. You better talk about Nick, he's one of our friends. Him and I played a game of Shadespire and a game of Mythic Battles that Jason was showing us the ropes for, and I really enjoyed both of them actually. They're both similar style games. They're both kind of like small board skirmish games, but very different in how they play.
Yeah.
Shadespire, I was really impressed by Shadespire. I'd heard loads of good things about it. Just our first game, Nick and I were learning as we went, but you could see it had quite a lot of tactical depth for a really basic system. It's literally a move, roll your dice to hit. And then, but the cards give you a completely different element because they're different every game. But there's
you can customize
themes
as well.
of them. Yeah, you can customize them. Really impressed by it. I really enjoyed the game of Shadespire. And then we played Mythic Battles, which was, as we said, a similar-ish game, but on a completely different scale.
I like to think of Shadespire as obviously a very solid game.
Yeah.
But Mythic Battles is like Shadespire on steroids.
Yeah, very much. I mean, I really like the drafting mechanic where you each get to kind of like take it in turns, choosing different parts of your, we'll call it a warband or whatever they're called. Is there a technical name?
God.
Your force and your god. So you choose your god, you choose your mythic monster. Like the miniatures are amazing. And I felt the combat was really interesting. They got special dice, but you have to do things with the dice. You have to kind of add up to the defense numbers, and there are different ways of doing it. So you can go the kind of like, you basically have to add the totals on your dice together. But if you get to 5, you get to roll another dice on top, and then add it to. So you can choose to add all your dice together to get to, say, a defense value of 9, or you can try and make 2 5s and then test your luck to get up to the 9 with each of those dice because they explode upwards.
Yeah.
I felt there were different options on the randomness. You could choose to go a random route, or you could go a more less random route if you like. And some people don't like trusting the luck; they like to get a solid result.
Yeah.
And the card deck was really interesting. That each hero puts a certain number of cards in, you only get to act when you get that, but there's loads of ways around that with the what they call the special
Art of War cards.
The Art of War cards. Yeah, really interesting game. One that I think would reward reward a lot more playing, a lot more knowledge than we had.
I think with between the two of them, Shadespire is a lot more easy to get into.
Yeah.
You know, you can go family routes or whatever.
I felt I knew what I was doing 5 minutes in.
With Mythic Battles, it's a lot more steeper learning curve. I mean, I let you guys just choose the interesting things you want to do.
I chose attractive-looking women as my first.
and
it worked.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't have worked.
But it's too much to explain to someone who's playing for the first time to go, this is what these things do.
There are so many rules. Just on, I chose, say, a random 5 women cards, just because I always like playing the women in games. And just on those 5 cards, out of how many do you reckon there are in
hundreds.
Hundreds upon hundreds, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, those 5 cards had too many rules on for me to really go through before the game.
Yeah.
It's one of those games where you need to play
like,
a lot.
Like half a dozen times at least before.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, with Shadespire, even though it's a much easier game to get into and the learning curve is so much shorter, it's still, I feel, a little more dictated to by the randomness.
Yes.
I mean, I've played the games, but then it's so quick it doesn't really matter.
The cards you draw dictate your objectives.
Yeah,
it's not
and
like
also,
you can choose an objective.
The dice can completely hose you.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go through 3 or 4 dice rolls and just completely fluff.
Whereas the dice in Mythic Battles, you roll more of them, and as we just said, you can choose to go the non-random route. You can choose to build up and go. It'll be a slower. There's less peaks of success, but you can guarantee you actually do something.
Yeah. So I think between the two, I think Mythic Battles is the more strategic, tactical game.
Definitely, yeah.
But it's not. I mean, the teardown as well is also a lot of.
Yeah.
So it's not. It's like if you just got a half an hour spare, you can't play Mythic Battles.
You would put them both in the same category of game.
Yeah.
But really different games and serve different purposes, and both actually really good. I thoroughly enjoyed both of them.
Yeah. It was interesting watching you guys play it as well.
Yeah. Mythic Battles, I'd say, is more encroaching onto actually a tabletop war game, even though it's kind of like pitched as a skirmish game and it plays as a skirmish game, but it's got the depth of a much deeper game, a much larger game. Especially
with all the flexibility and
I'd put it more on the scale of Infinity actually.
Yeah.
Because Infinity's you're only playing kind of like 10 dudes versus 10 dudes, but it's pretty complex. And Mythic Battles has got that kind of level of complexity and options that you can play with. Whereas Shadespire is interesting that it's very set what you use. I'm playing this warband. It's not like which of these people should I take. It's here is your warband.
Yeah. I almost felt like the game, the sort of construction was almost like Magic-esque.
Yeah.
You know, when you could play Magic with your friends and just have a laugh. But if you want to play properly,
you
there's a steep learning curve.
There's so many combos between all the different stuff you can take. You can really see how it would evolve out of that.
The other thing we played that day was Project Elite.
Yeah, you finally got to play with the beautiful miniatures of Project Elite.
Yes. It's quite interesting. Interesting about this, I've got a pile of games over there, which are my trade to sell.
You've got a pile of games over there as well, and over here.
And I've actually moved my Project Elite to that trade pile.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. It's not that I didn't enjoy the game. I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. But for me, games are more than just the sum of its play. But I paint a lot of my games. I've got figures in which I like to paint and customize, and I try and use them in other games as well.
And you wouldn't even ever want to.
No, and
it's pointless.
After playing with Nick, who has everything, and I enjoyed the game. It was fun to play, and I had a good time. But I don't think I would get mine to the table very often because there's a lot of other miniature style games that I would play more than I would want to play that one. Plus the fact that I'm never going to paint those figures.
No,
I mean, I went in with the intention of I'm going to paint these up and make them look good. But even
it's not possible.
No, it's just they're just not that good. And also, there's another part of me is also that even though it doesn't need it, that I know that the company is never going to produce any more content for the game, and therefore I feel as my life involves a lot of industry stuff, I'm never going to get a lot out of it.
And the thing is, if you ever need to play it again, just invite Nick over.
Exactly, yeah.
Our friend Dando, he bought a copy early on when it came out because he really enjoyed it. But I think he's going to be selling his copy now because Nick's got it and all the expansions, and Nick's got it all on a nice box, and Nick knows what he's doing with the game.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know where to start now because there's loads of different options, but Nick loves the game so much that he knows all of the options. So we sit down and he's already got the cards out and he's got everything sorted on the table. So it's if you've got a friend who owns a game and owns all the stuff for the game, you don't really need to own your own copy.
No, that's what I was saying. Like it's more than just the game itself. It's like I can paint up my set and do all the cool shit with it, and never play it, and that would be fine.
Yeah.
but I'm never going to paint it because of the figures. Just
you're
not
never going to paint it.
So, onto the trade pile it goes.
Yeah, no, and I think it's probably worth a reasonable amount of money because they're not going to make it again. So,
and it's the Kickstarter version.
Yeah, so you've got a load of the extras. Let's check to see if you've got anything that Nick doesn't have.
Oh well, yeah. I can't imagine I do though.
Yeah, Nick.
He came with a massive crate.
Nick will be watching.
So,
Nick, send Jason an email of any bits you don't have. See if he's got them. Other thing I played miniature-wise, I had a couple of games of Space Hulk with my mate Paul. With my mate Paul. Bit disappointing games actually. It was a bit weird. Paul and I have played Space Hulk for years. We used to play the original one, and we played since it came out a few years back. We've kind of been playing through the mission book, and it's always a really nice, tight, challenging game. And we played the first 2 missions that had the librarian in, and he completely unbalanced it.
Really?
I think the first game we played...
Were you playing the Marines?
No, I was playing the Gene Stealers.
Okay.
The first game we played, I think I got into close combat once.
Wow.
And the second game, I think it was even worse. I think the second game, there was no possible way for me to win it. I just looked at... We started the scenario off, and Paul's a really good tactician. He's good at seeing the game and choosing what to do. Basically, you've got to get this grail from one end of this really long corridor all the way to the other end. The librarian is unkillable, literally unkillable, until he's used all his power points, because the only way for Gene Stealers to kill him is to close combat him, in which you roll some dice, and the librarian rolls 1 dice, but he can spend power points to add to that dice. Mm-hmm. So he can always get better than the 6 is the maximum a Gene Stealer can get. He can always beat that until he's out of power points. And Paul just walked forward every turn with the librarian with his cup, and spent all his command points walking forward with his librarian. And the speed it took him to get from the starting point to the end tile, I couldn't get in Gene Stealers to him. I think I got 1 to him from behind, which is where you can attack him, and he just spends his power points and kills you. And the others were all in front, and as he walks forward, they get to fire their stun button, and he just killed them. And it was we were both really disappointed at the end of it, because all the games of Space Hulk we played previously were really nicely balanced, and it's usually the Marines who are up against it. And in this, didn't feel up against it at all. It was just a cakewalk.
Oh, that's a shame.
They got a special power where they get basically block a square on the board.
Yeah.
And he just did that every turn, so it cut down your approaches to him. It just didn't work. I was really, really surprised by it.
It's interesting. Space Hulk to me is one of those games where people nostalgically like it, because I'm not actually a big fan of Space Hulk.
I can see why, to be honest.
And I mean, there's a thematic disconnect for me as well. Like, you got Terminators, who in the game, in fluff-wise, are supposed to be like these giants. You know, and they just get ripped to pieces constantly by these freaking Gene Stealers, who in the normal game, or in fluff-wise, are also supposed to be pretty badass. But in a normal game, Gene Stealer's got no chance.
Oh, yeah, Gene Stealer. Well, actually, modern 40k, 40k 8th edition, a Gene Stealer is pretty deadly again.
But, so, like, you got that. And then also, when you go from a mechanical point of view, I found Space Hulk to be quite lackluster.
It's pretty slow going. It does the thing it does well, which is, or it used to do the thing it does well, which is making the Marine player, even though I agree they're in Terminator armour, they should be walking tanks. Yeah. But it's supposed to make them feel really claustrophobic, really, really slow and immobile versus the Gene Stealers kind of being all around them. And it supposedly does that well, although the 2 games I just played really didn't prove that. So, because I Lost Patrol, which is basically Space Hulk in my mind, but it's much faster and slicker. Yeah. And I like Lost Patrol better, even though Lost Patrol is near impossible to play out of the game. It is, yeah.
But I like the idea of the Scouts, because Scouts against Gene Stealers, that's a scary prospect. Yeah. You know, Scouts are not scary against anyone. So, and you can imagine if Space Hulk was Scouts thematically, I think they would make a lot more interesting game.
Yeah, quite possibly.
And I mean, they got the other game, the Assassinorum game. And that swings the other way, where you got like these 4 unbelievably good...
Yeah, you get to play all 4 of the assassins, don't you?
And the board plays and those assassins will murderize anything. Yeah.
One-on-one, they're better than everything in that game.
Exactly, yeah. But there's always that feeling like one unlucky hit and I'm screwed. And that's quite cool. I think that's a really interesting game. And the way the board does the Chaos Cultists and stuff, really well implemented.
Yeah, actually. I've only played that once, but I enjoyed the game we played. It was a very different style game as well.
Yeah. Whereas Space Hulk, for me, is lower than both of those games.
Interesting. See, I think, as you said, the nostalgia of it, full set.
But I never played Space Hulk as I didn't play Space Hulk until in the 2000s, you know. So
I think it works better as a. Paul and I have played it 2-player in the games there, but it works better when you've got multiple squads of Marines versus the one gene stealer, and there's just the older Space Hulk. There was a lot more going on. You used to have different style gene stealers. You had cultists, hybrids, and you had patriarchs, and you used to have a really interesting psychic system, and a lot more going on. I think you'd have enjoyed the older game compared to the new. Although the new one's got much better production values.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in fact, now thinking about it, I played the Fantasy Flight card game version before I even played the actual board game. Because obviously, if you watched the first episode, you know I didn't do hobby stuff until I was in my late 20s already. But the card game version, I mean, thematically, it didn't appeal to me that much. A lot of people love the card game because you can play solo.
Yeah.
And it's quite a puzzly game.
Again, Nick's got that, but I haven't played it yet.
It's pretty decent actually. And then I played the board game after that, and I thought it was just like, this is a very average board game.
The board game suffers very much, as we just discovered, from the missions. The missions change the game hugely, and I think it's probably quite a difficult thing to balance it because it's not a particularly random game.
You know what we should play? We should play Star Saga. I got up there from Mantic.
Oh yeah.
I've not even opened it
yet. You're out cellophane in this house.
But that's a Space Hulky style game.
That'd be interesting to play.
Where one person plays the board, you know, the guards and stuff like that, and the other people play individual characters. That looks really cool, actually.
Excellent.
So we'll get onto that.
Okay.
So that's all the games we've played this month.
So hobby, my section here. Sorry, hobby. My section here is not going to be very long.
No.
So do you want to go first, and then I'll just bookend it with a tiny little sentence.
Okay. So obviously with Salute coming around next week, and then the expo not soon after that, I've got a lot of stuff to do. I mean, besides my regular customers that I paint for, I've got a lot of companies that I paint demo copies and stuff for those exhibitions. So that's left me with very little personal time. But I did manage to finish my crossbow unit for Lion Rampant.
And they're looking really good, actually. I'm really liking the look of the Lion Rampant.
So I'll put a picture up, yeah. I've obviously gone for it's a medieval style game, and I chose the colour scheme of a creamish purple colour scheme.
Because painting white is great fun.
Yeah, and also because I don't paint a lot of purple in most of my other armies. It's always yellow and black or green and that sort of thing. So I went with this. So I've got the crossbow unit done, and I've also finished Earbart the Stronger, which is my leader. And if you watched any of our games, you'll notice that it's like a kind of a narrative-based game. So we've both chosen a leader and got a background.
It rewards you for kind of like having backgrounds. It just makes the game feel a bit more interesting, doesn't it?
So I've played both of those things, and we're going to be doing a game soon again, possibly next week, for this third scenario. So as each scenario goes by, I'll have another unit painted, and by the end of the narrative campaign, I'll have a fully painted Lion Rampant army.
Yeah, cool.
For further battle reports down the line.
And as I said, you can use it on other games as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I've got for myself done, which is the crossbowman and Earbart. But from my commission side, I've done a crap load of talisman figures.
Yeah, loads. Who knew there were that many talisman figures?
I've done some dystopian wars stuff. I've done some Infinity. And I've got lots of other bits and bobs that'll be coming up, and that'll all go on my Facebook page, which I'll put a link in the description below, and you can go check that out. Or maybe I'll put up a little collage of pictures here.
Yeah, loads of cool stuff.
And you want to bookend that with what you've done?
I painted Lamatis.
That is it. Got him right here.
He is fully painted. I was quite pleased with him. He looks quite nice, but one model. I'd say I'm getting married next month now, so...
not to me.
Not to Jason, no.
Not that there's wrong with that. It's just
I mean, we could do, but we've both already spoken for. I painted him. I'm in the middle of painting a Typhus, because I want to paint Mortarion, but I'm trying to kind of like hammer down my colour scheme, so I'm painting my Typhus model first. But I got Lamatis painted. He was my minimum painting of the month. So I made sure I got him done. But yeah, not the most productive of months for myself.
I've always liked the Lamatis model.
Yeah.
But I've never really wanted to go down a Blood Angel route.
They're the best chapter, man.
But I like the idea of having a Death Watch. Not Death Watch.
Death Company.
No, what are those guys with the flames all around them? And
Legion of the Damned.
Legion of the Damned.
Yeah.
I've always liked the idea of having a Legion of the Damned unit.
They're quite well. I made a unit of those 2-3 years ago now. And I've actually got proper. I've taken the Space Marine heads off, and I've got proper skulls on them.
Yeah,
and I was really pleased with the skull, with the flames painted on. I found some flame tutorial online, and followed it, and they looked really good. So I was really pleased with those. And they're really striking models as well.
So I was tempted to, like, because can they have a chaplain?
They can't have a chaplain, you can just do what you like.
I was thinking of using Lamatis as like a unit.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he would fit quite nicely in, actually, because the skull head and such of them looked really good.
And I know he's got a jump pack, but that can be easily replaced.
Yeah.
And he's obviously got, what are they, the thing called?
Cruzius Arcanum.
Yeah, that can be replaced as well. But I just like the idea. I mean, using the model, because I like the model, and I like the Legion of the Damned squad.
Space Marines are great. You can use any part of the range for anything, really.
Yeah, and I thought it'd be quite cool to have an Imperial Guard army with a Legion of the Damned just teleporting in.
And that's how they work Fluffrise as well.
Yeah. So that is the hobby.
That is hobby, yeah.
So, last thing to talk about is upcoming games and videos we got going. So, I got episode 3 of The Lion Rampant.
Yep.
We got, me and John are going to be playing that with some new freshly painted units.
Always nice.
Salutes next week, and I always do a little content for that. You know, I take a lot of pictures and maybe do an interview or two.
I like that type of video. I don't get to go to many conventions and such, so I watch your videos and I watch other people's videos. It's a good snippet to kind of like see what's at the show and to see what you're missing out on, unfortunately.
And I mean, Salute's an interesting thing for me because it's not really a convention. It's
more of a trade show, isn't it?
It's more like a shopping show.
Yeah.
The only problem is like if you have to go by public transport, and then you pay to get in, it's quite an expensive shopping trip. You get some deals on some of the the shops and stuff you can go to.
But are you making back your 20 quid train fare? And stuff like
10
that.
quid to get in, and stuff like that. And then of course you look at say Adepticon. I know you have to pay a little extra for it, but you get the swag bag from them, which is ridiculous.
You get absurd things inside it.
I mean, I watched an unboxing of it the other day, and it was just like you got like a whole freaking Ruinbound starter box.
Yeah,
just there you go. You got like
you tell that if you sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, tons and tons of stuff in there, and to salute if you're in the first 5,000 people, you get
a little jiffy bag.
A figure, now you get that jiffy bag anyway because all it has is a map of them.
Yeah, that's it. So where to go to buy stuff.
And obviously, they charge, I think it's like $10 or $12 to get in.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to increase the swag bag, they would have to increase the price.
You kind of pay for what you get, don't you?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. There's just something about that disparity between the two countries that makes it interesting. And then of course, like I was saying, you pay to get in.
Yeah.
And then you spend
food on your day, everything like that. It all adds up, doesn't it? And when you go in there, you're making maybe a 10% saving on what you're buying.
Well, exactly, yeah.
So you have to spend 400 quid to make your money back.
Exactly, yeah. And ironically, I've been going to Salute for like 10, 15 years.
That's it. I mean, it's part of the job for you as well, isn't it? Because you need to go along, meet clients and things like that.
And also the other thing that I really enjoy about Salute, because I don't really buy a lot of stuff there. No. I mean, I maybe pick up 1 or 2 figures that I wouldn't normally pick up anywhere else. But what I love is checking out all the demo tables and the showcase tables and stuff like that. It kind of enthuses me, I come back.
A lot of clubs go along and they'll put on a demo table and stuff, don't they?
And you see some fantastic stuff. I mean, and I think, especially over the last couple of years, some of the bigger companies like Warlord, Foreground, ironically, Spartan Games was one, but they no longer exist. Started really upping the game a bit and putting out some really good areas. So really good tables, really good display areas and stuff, and that creates a more interesting atmosphere at the convention.
Stuff you'll never see. I remember it all sticks in my mind. One of the things I saw, I'm not sure, it might have been at a Games Workshop convention, but it could have been at any of them, and they'd built a giant spaceship, quite a red dwarf if you're familiar with that, but quite a big bulky spaceship with kind of I think it was like hexagonal shape, and it had big flat sides on it, but it got a bit of detail on it, but it was built on kind of 2 pivot points at the end, so the spaceship hung between the pivot points and had a big handle so you could turn the spaceship round, but they'd made it out of sheet metal, and then all their miniatures had magnets in the base of them, so they were fighting on the 3D outside of the whole spaceship, so you could fight around the whole thing. It was just looked amazing.
Wow.
I was like, blimey, if I had the space, that's not that difficult to build. Okay, it's difficult, but I have the know-how. I could build that if you had the space. You're thinking, that's just a fantastic battlefield to have. A 3D outside of a spaceship battlefield just looked brilliant. That's the one that always sticks in my mind when people say about convention displays of games and things.
Salute has some, but then a lot of average ones. Because it's, let's be fair, it's a majority a historical.
Yeah, it's very much
and there's not much you can do with
an English company thing, and so many of them do historicals.
And there's not much you can do with a Napoleonic battle. I mean, they look great.
The whole idea is it's supposed to look realistic.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, I get that, but I like maybe another interesting one to go check out maybe this year is Warhammer Fest. I mean, I don't know what it was like last year, but the year before that, I saw a video of a guy doing a run through, and it looked pretty decent actually. Lots of interesting stuff. And because they focus so much on just their stuff, obviously, they can really, up the level, and really focus on really cool shit that they'll have there.
And certainly with the new Age of Sigmar figures, they really encourage making a proper fantastic. Can you imagine what they're going to do with the Internet Deepkin? Some displays you can make out of that with possibly real water involved or fake water, or
if their museum has anything to go by. I mean, imagine going to a show where you can play on tables like that.
If you haven't been round the museum at Warhammer World, I'd recommend going. If you like miniatures, you'll like it. Doesn't matter if you're not a fan of Games Workshop stuff or not. It's just incredible.
It's really worth it. I mean, going back to, I'm really interested in going to Salute next year. I mean, other than the fact that I'll have some stuff to do there. Sometimes I take my older son with, and we have a good time. We just hang out, check out stuff, and then come back the next day. I'm a lot more enthused, like looking at all the cool shit that you can see then, all the nicely painted figures and stuff makes me want to come back and go, right, let's get...
Whereas, weirdly, when we went around Warhammer World, you left that and you were like, what's the point in painting it?
Yeah. Screw these people. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. So that's basically what I've got upcoming.
I have very little coming up. As so repeatedly, I'm getting married next month, and
all right. You don't have to bring.
We're now in end stage, so I have no painting planned for this month at all because I don't think I'll have time.
You're not taking with you and you're on the honeymoon?
I think I might get murdered.
Why are you going to South Africa?
No, Barbados. So no painting for me, I'm afraid. I might surprise you in our next video. I might bring something along that I've done, but I suspect not, unfortunately. But I'll pick it up again later in the year, I promise.
Is it in 9 months' time you show us what you've done?
No, maybe 12. Got to wait a little bit.
It doesn't happen, man. At least when you expect it.
We'll see.
Okay, well, great. Thanks for watching as usual.
What do you reckon? Just a quick end of thing interrupt you. Do you reckon we're shorter or longer?
I'm always going to be shorter than everyone.
No, I'm going to be longer.
I actually think we might have hit the hour mark.
I reckon we've gone 5 minutes over.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon so. When you add this up,
I'm going to edit to make it.
Yeah. We'll see who's right. Sorry, you were saying.
Just cut out all your bits. So thanks for watching as usual, and comment below if you want us to talk about anything specific or ask us questions or talk about how we can get Michael out of this.
See how it can be done.
And go check out Team Clueless 40k for some 40k videos.
Yeah, that's it, and we'll see you here next month.
Cool. See you later.